I'm holding a leather wallet that isn't mine, and I can't stop shaking because of what's inside. Not the money, but a photograph that just upended everything I thought I knew about the woman I've been married to for 16 years. Let me back up. This started 3 days ago, on a Tuesday morning, the kind of ordinary day that doesn't feel like it should change your entire life. I found the wallet in the parking lot outside the Metro Bank downtown. I'd just finished a client meeting. I'm an insurance adjuster, nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps the health insurance flowing for my family. The wallet was wedged between two cars, brown leather, worn at the edges. I could have walked past it. Most people do. But my mom raised me better than that, so I picked it up. The ID inside belonged to a guy named Marcus Whitmore, 48 years old according to the driver's license. Handsome in that polished way, expensive haircut, that kind of smile. I found his phone number in the card section and called it. He answered on the third ring, and I could hear the relief in his voice immediately. "Oh man, thank God," he said. "That's my life in there." I've been retracing my steps all morning. We arranged to meet at the coffee place across from the bank. I handed him the wallet back, and he offered me a $100 bill. I refused. He insisted. We compromised on coffee, my treat, his treat, whatever. We sat down for maybe 30 minutes, and he told me he was a pharmaceutical rep, traveled a lot, had a condo in the city, but kept a house upstate where his family lived. He was a good conversationalist, easy, the kind of guy who makes you feel like you've known him longer than 15 minutes. Before we left, he handed me a business card. "Seriously, if you ever need anything, you call me," he said. And I mean anything. I'm not the kind of guy who forgets when someone helps him out. I put the card in my wallet and went home to my wife, Jennifer. Jennifer and I have built something solid. We met in college. I was studying business management, she was in nursing. She was the kind of girl who didn't realize how beautiful she was. Always laughing, always thinking about other people first. We got married at 24, both of us broke as hell but convinced it wouldn't matter because we had each other. Now, at 43, I can say that prediction wasn't entirely wrong. We've had good years, really good years. The house, a 3-bedroom colonial in Westchester County, was paid off 2 years ago. Our 2 kids are thriving. Michael is 17 and heading to Penn State on a partial scholarship. Our daughter Emma is 14 and on the varsity soccer team. Jennifer still works as a registered nurse, but she cut back to part-time 5 years ago when her mom got sick. She's been helping with her care ever since. That Tuesday evening, Jennifer was making her famous baked ziti. The kitchen smelled like garlic and oregano. She was wearing the green apron her sister gave her, the one that says, "This kitchen is powered by wine and profanity." And she was singing along to some podcast about true crime. She does that when she cooks, hums along like she's in her own world. "Hey, babe," I said, coming up behind her to kiss her neck. "Smells incredible." "Rough day?" she asked, not looking up from the pasta. "Not too bad. Weird thing happened, though. Found a guy's wallet in the parking lot. Tracked him down and gave it back." She turned to me with this soft smile. "Of course you did. You're a good man, David." That's what she calls me when she's being sincere. David instead of Dave. And I felt it then, that warm thing you feel when someone sees you and approves of what they see. I remember thinking how lucky I was, how solid everything was. Dinner was at 6. Michael came down from his room, Emma dragged herself away from TikTok, and we all sat around the table like a family in a commercial. Jennifer told us about her shift at the hospital, a funny story about an elderly patient who'd hidden his dentures in the plant in his room. Michael talked about his calculus test. Emma complained about soccer conditioning. Everything was normal. Everything was good. That night, after the kids went to bed, Jennifer and I were getting ready for sleep. I was brushing my teeth when she said something that, in hindsight, had a strange edge to it. "I'm going to be staying late at the hospital Friday," she called from the bedroom. extra shift, coverage issue. Is that okay?" "Of course," I said, coming out of the bathroom. "No problem." She was already in bed, scrolling her phone. She didn't look at me when she said it. "Thanks," she said. "I knew you'd be cool about it." There was something in her tone, a rehearsed quality, like she'd practiced the words. But I didn't press it. We were both tired. I got into bed, kissed the top of her head, and fell asleep thinking about nothing in particular. The photo didn't surface until Friday. Friday afternoon, I was working from home, adjusting claims from my desk in the spare room. Jennifer had already left for her extra shift around 3 p.m. She'd seemed rushed, almost anxious, checking her phone repeatedly. She kissed me goodbye and said she'd be back by 11. I barely registered it. Around 4 o'clock, I got a text from Marcus Whitmore. Just his name, a simple message. "Hey Dave, found a photo in my car that I think got mixed in with some papers when you gave me my wallet back. It's from inside the leather pocket. Thought you'd want to see it. Can I drop by your place?" I remember frowning at that. A photo mixed in? That didn't make sense. But I said sure, sent him my address, and thought nothing of it. He showed up maybe 30 minutes later. I met him at the door. He looked different than he had at the coffee shop. Uncomfortable, almost guilty. He pulled a small photograph out of his jacket pocket and handed it to me without saying anything. I looked at it. The world went quiet. It was Jennifer, unmistakably Jennifer. But not Jennifer as I knew her. She was in some kind of hotel room, lying on a bed, wearing lingerie I'd never seen before. And she wasn't alone. There was a man in the photo with her, his arm around her waist, both of them laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. The man was Marcus. "I don't know how that got in there," Marcus was saying, but his voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. "I have no idea who that woman is. I swear to you, that photo isn't mine. I've never seen it before in my life." But he had. He absolutely had. And in that moment, as I stared at my wife's face in another man's arms, I realized that the wallet, the parking lot, the coffee shop, the business card, all of it might have been exactly what it appeared to be. Or none of it was. And I had no way of knowing which. I stared at the photograph for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 5 seconds. My hands weren't just shaking anymore, they were vibrating like I'd grabbed a live wire. "I need you to leave," I heard myself say. My voice sounded like someone else's, flat, dead. Marcus was still talking, still insisting he'd never seen the photo before, but I wasn't listening anymore. I walked to the door and opened it. He left without another word, and I locked it behind him, then locked it again, then locked it a third time even though it was already locked. I went to my office and sat at my desk. The photograph was still in my hand. Jennifer's face was still laughing in that hotel room. The man's arm was still around her waist. I looked at it so many times that the image stopped making sense, like when you say a word over and over until it becomes just sounds. My phone showed 4:47 p.m. Jennifer said she'd be back by 11. That gave me 6 hours and 13 minutes to figure out what to do with the fact that my marriage was a lie. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. I just sat there in my office chair, the photograph on my desk, my entire life rearranged into a shape I didn't recognize. Around 6 o'clock, I heard Michael come home from soccer practice. He opened the door, threw his gear on the floor in the kitchen, something Jennifer would normally yell at him about, and shouted, "Dad, I'm starving." I didn't answer. He appeared in my doorway a minute later, still in his practice jersey, his hair sweaty and matted. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, buddy, just working on something. Order pizza if you want. Your mom's working late." He nodded and left. I heard him texting someone, heard Emma come home around 7, heard them both ordering from that Italian place they liked. Normal sounds. The soundtrack of a normal family. I felt like I was watching it all from underwater. By 8 o'clock, I'd made a decision. I needed to know. Not just the photograph, the whole thing. How long this had been going on. How many times. Where. When. If there were other photos, other men, other hotel rooms. I needed to know every detail so I could feel the full weight of what had been done to me. I opened Jennifer's laptop. Her password was Michael's birthday and our anniversary date combined, something she'd chosen because she said it represented the 3 most important dates in her life. Now that detail made me want to scream. Her email was open, Gmail. I scrolled through recent messages, my heart hammering against my ribs. Most of it was normal. Hospital schedules, messages from her sister, notifications about sales at Nordstrom. But then I found it. A thread with a contact name. M. The messages were sparse, careful, designed to look like nothing if anyone glanced at them. But the dates were there. The first message was from 8 months ago. Great seeing you last week. Same place next month? My wife had replied, yes, but we need to be more careful. He's been asking questions about my shifts. That was me. I was he. I scrolled through more, dozens of messages stretching back to January, coded language about meetings, appointments, coverage shifts. Every time Jennifer had said she was working late or picking up an extra shift, she'd been somewhere with Marcus. Every single time. 8 months. 240 days of lies. I closed the laptop. My vision was starting to tunnel. I went to the bathroom and threw up. Nothing came up except bile and the taste of metal. I stayed on my knees for a while, gripping the edge of the toilet like it was the only solid thing left in the world. When I finally stood up, I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize the man looking back at me. His face was gray. His eyes looked hollowed out. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Running a little late. Traffic is insane. Should be home by 11:30. Love you. Love you. I didn't respond. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a whiskey, neat, something I almost never do, and sat at the kitchen table. Michael and Emma were upstairs in their rooms, headphones on, oblivious to the fact that their family was disintegrating in real time. I drank the whiskey. It burned. Everything burned. Around 9:30, I did something I've never been proud of. I called Jennifer. Not to confront her, not yet. I just wanted to hear her voice, to see if there was any crack in her lie, any sign of the woman I thought I'd known. She answered on the second ring. Hey babe, what's up? Her voice was normal, warm, like she was genuinely happy to hear from me. Just checking in, I said. How's work? Brutal. We're short-staffed because of some call-outs. I'm in triage and it's been non-stop. But we're managing. She was lying to my face while pretending to be in a hospital that I knew she'd never been to. The certainty of it hit me like a physical blow. That sucks, I said. Drive safe, okay? Always do. Kiss the kids for me. I'll be quiet when I come in so I don't wake you. After she hung up, I sat in the dark kitchen with my empty whiskey glass and realized something that made me feel even more sick than the photograph had. I had no idea what to do next. This wasn't something you could fix with an insurance claim or a phone call. This wasn't something you could undo. I was still sitting there when my phone rang at 10:15 p.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Is this David Hartley? A woman's voice, professional, urgent. Yes, who is this? This is Officer Patricia Chen with the Westchester County Police Department. I'm calling about your wife, Jennifer Hartley. She's been in an accident. We need you to come to Mercy Hospital right now. The world stopped. What kind of accident? A car collision on Route 287. She was alone in the vehicle. She's conscious but hurt. You need to come to the ER immediately, sir. Can you do that? I said yes. I didn't remember hanging up. I didn't remember grabbing my keys. I just remember the drive to the hospital, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, thinking about the photograph, thinking about the lies, thinking about the fact that Jennifer was in a hospital bed, and I had no idea if I still loved her or if that person had ever existed at all. When I got to the emergency room, I found out the real nightmare was just beginning. Jennifer was in a private room on the second floor, her left leg in a cast from hip to ankle. There was a bandage across her forehead and bruising blooming along her right cheekbone. When I walked in, she was staring out the window, and for a moment before she noticed me, I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Guilt, maybe, or fear. Real fear. "David," she said, reaching for me. "Oh God, I'm so sorry. The brakes failed. I don't know what happened. One second I was driving, and the next—" I stopped her with a raised hand. I couldn't do this. Not here, not now, not while pretending the photograph wasn't burning a hole in my pocket. "The doctor said you're going to be fine," I said, my voice flat. "Multiple contusions, a fractured tibia. You'll need physical therapy, but no permanent damage." "David, you're scaring me. What's wrong?" I pulled a chair over and sat down, but I didn't take her hand. That felt like it might kill me. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Not the version you think I want to hear, the actual truth." Her face went pale, not confused, not innocent, pale with recognition. "Where were you today, Jennifer, before the accident?" She didn't answer. She just closed her eyes. "I got a phone call from Marcus Whitmore," I continued. "You know that name, don't you? The man whose wallet I found. He came by the house today with a photograph, a very specific photograph." "David, please. Where were you?" "I can't explain right now. I'm in pain, I'm exhausted, and—" "You're going to explain right now," I said, and my voice was so quiet it was almost worse than if I'd yelled. 8 months, Jennifer. The emails go back 8 months. Every shift you worked late, every time you picked up extra coverage, every time you told me you were at the hospital. You were with him." She started to cry, but I didn't move. I sat there like I was made of stone. "It didn't mean anything," she whispered. "It was just, he was paying attention to me, and you were so focused on work, and Michael was pulling away, and my mom's health was getting worse, and I felt like I was drowning. And then he was there. He made me feel like I mattered." The words were supposed to hurt, and they did, but not the way I expected. What hurt was how small they sounded, how pathetic and ordinary. My wife's affair had the emotional complexity of a Lifetime movie. "You mattered," I said. "You matter to me, to your children, to everyone who loves you. You don't understand. You've never—" "No, you're right. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could look me in the eye every single day and lie. I don't understand how you could touch our kids knowing where your hands had been. And I don't understand how you could be so careless as to let a photograph exist in the first place." She was sobbing now, but I was done. I stood up. "I'm going to stay with my brother for a while," I said. "When you get out of here, we're going to talk to a lawyer, a divorce attorney, because I can't be in this marriage anymore." "David, wait, please. We can work through this. I love you. I made a mistake, but—" "You didn't make a mistake, Jennifer. You made a choice. 240 times. I walked out of her hospital room and didn't look back. The next 48 hours were a blur of phone calls and legal consultations. I hired Richard Kleinman, a divorce attorney with an office on Madison Avenue and a reputation for being ruthless. His retainer was $5,000. I didn't care about the money anymore. "The infidelity gives you leverage," Richard told me during our first meeting, "especially with the children involved. You have photographs, email evidence, and a willing witness in Marcus Whitmore. This will not go to trial. She'll settle." On Monday morning, I called Marcus. I hadn't planned to, but I needed to hear his voice, needed to see if he'd show any sign of remorse or if he'd been playing me from the beginning. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. David, I swear to you, that photograph was never supposed to exist. I didn't take it. Someone else did, at the hotel. I found it in my car, and I had to tell you. You deserve to know. Did you know who she was when you first met me? I asked. Silence. Answer the question. No, he said finally. But when I looked at the wallet, I saw her nursing credentials in your family photos. I recognized her. So the whole thing, the parking lot, the wallet, the coffee, that was all a setup. No, the wallet was real. I really did lose it. But when I found the photograph and realized who she was, I knew I had to tell you. I owed you that much. I hung up without responding. Part of me believed him. Part of me thought he was a manipulative bastard who'd orchestrated the entire thing. But it didn't matter anymore. The truth was out. Jennifer was released from the hospital on Wednesday. She called my brother's house, where I'd been staying, and asked if we could talk. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, not the same one where Marcus and I had sat, but similar, neutral territory. She came in moving slowly, limping with a cane. The bruises on her face had darkened. She looked older, smaller, like something had compressed her. Richard Kleinman is very good, I said before she could say anything. He's already drawing up the divorce papers. You can have the house, I don't care. You can have primary custody of Emma. Michael is 17, so he can choose. We'll split the 401k 50-50. I want you to know up front that I'm not trying to punish you. I'm just trying to get out. I don't want a divorce, she said. I don't care what you want. David, please, let me explain. Let me tell you what was really going on. I almost said no, but something in her voice made me listen. After my mom got sick, she began, I became her primary caregiver. I was working part-time, managing the house, managing you, managing the kids, and nobody was managing me. Marcus came to the hospital for a pharmaceutical presentation. We talked, he listened, and for the first time in years, someone was paying attention to my life instead of just my utility. So you cheated on me. I made a terrible choice, she said. But David, you need to know something. The emails you found? I was trying to break it off. That last month, every time I wrote to him, I was telling him it had to end. I didn't want to do this anymore. I was planning to tell you. I didn't believe her. But then she pulled out her phone and showed me the messages I hadn't seen, the ones that came after the photograph was taken. I can't keep doing this. I love my husband. I love my family. This ends now. I'm sorry. I should never have let this happen. Please don't contact me again. The last message was from Friday morning, the day of the accident, the day everything fell apart. I was going to tell you, she whispered. That Friday night, I was going to come home and tell you everything. But I couldn't focus on driving, and my mind was everywhere, and I didn't see the truck until it was too late. We sat in silence for a long time. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said finally. I'm not asking you to, she replied. I'm just asking you not to throw away 16 years without trying. I didn't respond. I left the coffee shop and drove back to my brother's house, where I sat in the guest room and stared at the photograph again. Jennifer's face, her laugh, the man's arm around her waist. But this time, I also thought about all the other photographs, the ones that existed only in memory. Jennifer holding newborn Michael. Jennifer on our wedding day. Jennifer at Emma's soccer games, screaming encouragement from the sidelines. Jennifer in our kitchen at midnight, unable to sleep, talking about her fears and her dreams and the weight of keeping everything together. I called Richard Kleinman the next morning and told him to pause the divorce proceedings. He wasn't happy about it. You're making an emotional decision, he warned me. Yes, I said, I am. Jennifer and I didn't reconcile overnight. We went to marriage counseling. Twice a week, in a small office that smelled like lavender and despair, we sat on opposite ends of a couch and learned how to talk to each other again. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than finding the wallet, harder than seeing the photograph, harder than realizing my marriage was a lie. But somewhere in the middle of all that pain, something shifted. Jennifer started telling me things she'd never said before, about how invisible she felt, about how much she'd sacrificed, about how she'd lost herself somewhere between being a wife, a mother, and a daughter. And I listened, actually listened, instead of defending or explaining or minimizing. 6 months later, we were still together. Not perfect, changed, but honest. I never saw Marcus Whitmore again. He moved to a different territory for his pharmaceutical company. Jennifer quit her part-time nursing job and started a consulting business helping hospitals with staff burnout and retention. Michael left for Penn State. Emma made varsity soccer captain. Life went on. But I kept that photograph in a drawer in my desk at work. Not to torture myself, but as a reminder that happiness is fragile, that trust, once broken, requires intentional work to rebuild, that the person you love most in the world can still hurt you in ways you can't imagine, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do is choose to stay, not because you're weak, but because you're brave enough to believe in second chances, even when everything in you wants to walk away.